This is the Buffy and Lamar Show.
Great show.
This is the Buffy and Lamar Show.
Great show. Thursday.
This is the Buffy and Lamar Show.
Great show.
What's happening, everybody?
This is the Buffy and Lamar Show.
Yeah. What's up, y'all? This is the Buffy and Lamar Show. I'm your host, Lamar Quincy, alongside my co-host, the everything, the one, the only, the incomparable, the dope, the superb, the queen of the castle, Janita M, a.k.a. Buffy.
What's up?
What's going on, Buffy?
Nothing at all.
Nothing's going on?
I don't
Why?
have that much going on.
Why is nothing going on?
Because nothing's...
I feel like there's a lot going on.
Well, there is, but it isn't.
That makes so much sense.
Yeah, everybody will understand what that means.
That makes so much
A lot going
sense.
on and nothing all at the same time.
How do you feel today?
I feel good.
That's good.
I feel relaxed today.
Are you relaxed?
Good.
I have to say that there have been days over the past month or so where you weren't relaxed.
You picked up on that?
I picked up on that a little bit. Why weren't you relaxed?
I don't know. It probably has something to do with you.
Wow. My
But
fault?
I'm relaxed. It's
My fault?
always your fault. If I'm not relaxed, it's definitely your fault. That should be your goal in life, to make sure I'm relaxed. That's a good goal, right?
To make sure you're relaxed.
Yeah.
So what about like vice versa? Is it your goal to make sure I'm relaxed?
Yeah. Actually, I think it's my goal to make sure you're at peace.
Which is AKA relaxed.
AKA relax for men. For women, we just need to relax.
What helps you relax?
Does help me relax. I like order. I like knowing what's going on. I like having a plan.
Right.
All that kind of stuff relaxes me.
That's good. That relaxes me too.
That does. Who knew?
So we've been away for a little bit.
Yes.
To all of our listeners, if you haven't noticed, we haven't been very active on social media. We haven't, we actually skipped a week on releasing the show.
Right.
And mainly it was because COVID-19 is
A lot.
a lot to deal with, especially when you're trying to produce a show. We did a couple of Zoom call shows, but
Right.
in my opinion, there's only so many Zoom call shows you can do.
Definitely.
So we decided
gets old
it
very
gets old very
quickly.
quick. So we decided to take a little bit of a break from the show,
Plus the fact that we had nothing to talk about.
and we had nothing to talk about.
You could get on, and talk about everything that everybody else is talking about, which is
Who wants
only
to do that?
COVID-19, but we didn't want to do that.
Yeah, I
Like,
mean,
come on.
how much more can you really talk about COVID-19?
I was sick of hearing it.
I'm still sick of hearing it.
Yeah. I think people that get paid to talk about it every day, I'm sure they cannot stand it.
Yeah, I'm
It's
pretty
so
much
annoying.
I'm pretty much over it. I'm ready for things to be done, and
Yeah, that's enough.
hopefully we can somewhat get back to normal
Yeah,
a little bit.
right.
Couple of things I want to discuss before we get started on the show. Some things in the news. I think
Yes.
that
Other than COVID?
other than COVID,
Ooh.
in case people
it.
haven't really realized, there's an election coming up
It's
soon.
election year. Like, I've been waiting for this year.
Have you?
Yes.
I
ready.
haven't.
You have? You weren't looking forward to it?
No, I'm not.
I just kind of was, wanting to see what would happen. It was
With
exciting
what?
for me. With
With the
presidential
new
election.
presidency?
Yeah.
I'm not excited at all.
No, you don't have any hope?
I mean, I wouldn't say I don't have hope, but I'm not excited.
looking forward
No,
to
I'm not looking forward to it. I mean, it's just something that's going to happen,
Yeah.
regardless of whether we like it or not.
We have a huge distraction, so.
Yeah. So Joe Biden recently made some comments on on the Breakfast Club. And it was very interesting. He basically said, if you don't vote for him, you're not black.
Okay.
And
Was he saying that like in defense of like Democrats or the party?
you know what?
Which that part I find a
Did you
little
listen to
offensive.
it?
Yeah, I heard bits and pieces of it. I didn't hear the entire interview. The segment that I heard was pretty long.
Right.
One person covered a long part of it, but I didn't hear it from start to finish. No.
Okay, so I didn't hear from start to finish either, but they kind of played the section of the show where he actually made the comment.
Right.
In my opinion, I don't really think the context of the conversation really matters
With what he said, you
with
mean?
what he said.
Okay.
My personal opinion, I don't really care what he said.
Right.
Just my opinion. I think black people are way too sensitive.
So Black Twitter didn't like what he said.
I'm pretty sure Black Twitter didn't like what he said. But I was commenting on social media the other day, and I basically said, who cares what he said?
Yeah.
Keep it moving. What he said has no relevance to me as a black person.
So you're still black.
I'm black whoever I vote for. It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't change my blackness at all. I could vote for Trump. If I want to vote for Trump,
And you'd still wake up black.
I still wake up black.
That's dope.
However, people will probably challenge my blackness
But why is that a challenge to your blackness? Just because of who you vote for?
because if you vote for Trump or if you vote for anything that goes against the popular opinion of black people, then you're not black.
Wow.
That's how I see it.
So the interesting thing with that too is we were talking about the other day, like how come Black Twitter is like such a strong force in our society today? Like I don't get that. Like we don't have the NAACP representing us anymore. It's
Black
really
Twitter-
Black Twitter.
Black Twitter is the new NAACP.
That's ridiculous.
If you
but
want anything
okay.
done in the black community,
you gotta get on Black
you
Twitter.
gotta get Black Twitter on board with what you're doing. It's kind of, I don't know. I feel
That's
like,
weird.
like you were saying the other day, Black Twitter and social media has given us as a community a large platform, so you can really hear
Right.
what ordinary, regular, everyday people
Right.
think about a situation.
So we have a voice,
We have a voice,
but only through Twitter.
mainly through Twitter, which is it's fortunate, but it's unfortunate at the same time. So I'm assuming Black Twitter was kind of upset about what Joe Biden said.
Yeah.
But
Well, they were saying like he didn't have the right to say that. Like you just don't have the right as a white person to tell me that you have to do this or you're not black. Which, I mean, it might have
according
been
to who though?
I don't
Who
know.
cares?
I don't know.
Do you have to go to like? You got to get a ghetto pass in order to be able to say that.
Some things you just don't have the right to say, whether or not you have a pass or not. Like
You can
I mean,
say
I
what
do
you want to
agree.
say.
Yeah, I do agree it was in bad taste. Like
It was in
maybe,
bad taste.
you know.
It was kind of in bad taste.
Yeah, if you think about it again, maybe he wouldn't have phrased it like that or something.
If
but
you listen to the conversation,
yeah.
I think that in the midst of the conversation, Joe began to get a little laxed and kind of took it from
yeah.
he kind of took it from a level of professionalism down to like a conversation that you would have with a friend.
Right, right.
And I think he might have got a little too comfortable with Charlemagne
Yeah.
at the end of the interview.
Which was also a really good thing because I think he asked some really good questions that he probably doesn't get asked on a regular basis.
Which is good.
Yeah,
That's
they're
good.
conversations that need to be had
Yeah,
on a political point in our,
right.
in our community. And he wasn't getting asked those kind of questions. So it probably did make him feel a little bit more comfortable. They were real questions.
Right.
And, they were talking. They were having a good conversation, I think. So.
Yeah. And you got to remember, too,
Whatever.
Joe Biden is Italian.
Yeah.
So I think he's Italian.
Oh, yeah, we should probably not just say that.
I think he's Italian.
Let me make sure he's Italian before you just put ethnicity on him.
Now, people might ask, well, what does that mean? The fact that he's
that's
Italian.
a little racist too for you to
Well,
say that.
you know,
what does that mean?
That means that.
Because you said, let's remember he's Italian. What does that mean?
That means that. Based
See,
around.
now if we were.
No, listen.
That's how things get taken out of context.
Exactly.
You gotta
I know that
yourself.
is.
Yeah.
I have to explain myself, but I'm not going to go back on what I said because.
Like everybody does.
Like everybody does. Because if somebody would have said, oh, he's black.
Right.
That makes sense.
Well, you gotta remember he's black.
Yeah.
Then Black Twitter would have been really mad.
So maybe Italian Twitter is going to come after me.
They might. Oh, gosh.
I don't know. It's a stereotypical thing to me that Italians are very boisterous.
Okay. That's a stereotype.
It's definitely a stereotype.
Okay.
So maybe I should go back on that statement.
You should.
I apologize. I shouldn't do that. Because, not all black people are ghetto and loud. So maybe I'll retract that statement. I apologize.
You should.
Him being Italian has nothing to do with it.
Not at all.
I take responsibility for what I just said, but it's okay. We'll keep it moving. Is he Italian? You researching?
I'm trying to pull it up, but I think it says he's Irish.
Is he Irish? Oh, okay.
Yeah, well, his dad was Irish. Didn't really say his mom yet, so he might be a little.
I stand corrected.
Yes, stand corrected.
So, moving on, today's show, we're talking about children today, and I felt like this was a relevant subject. Well, yeah, actually, you felt like this was a relevant subject because we have a child. Actually, I wouldn't say a child. We have a young adult whom I don't even want to say raising anymore. We are helping them to develop into adulthood, right? She's
we have
21.
Actually, we have quite a few young adults now.
We do, but the main one is
that still is in our home.
Still are in our home and developing into an adult. She's 21, turning 22, still in school, and learning a lot of new things about how it is to function in society as a citizen who contributes to society. So the question for the show today is, are we supposed to help? How much do we help them?
Right.
Or how are we supposed to help them? Are we
you
supposed to
help the
fall that
kids?
you help the babies?
Right.
Right.
Or not.
Or not. So let me hear, because we didn't really discuss this.
No, we didn't.
What is your take on it? And we're specifically talking about the young adults. What do you want to say, like from 17, 18?
Yeah, I think starting at like 17, when you start to help them realize that, you're getting ready to be out of our home. This is life. You have choices to make. You're going to have responsibilities. You're a young adult.
So what's your take on that? Do you think we help the babies or what?
I think, so here's where it kind of came from, right? So I think it came from the fact that when we were younger, I had a different perspective. I think growing up in the African American community, the popular stance in this on this topic is like that you don't give a lot of help.
Right.
You kind of let, your kids be independent, bump their heads if they need to, find out on their own how to kind of take care of themselves. Because I think traditionally, like parents want to make their kids strong because they know in society how much they have to kind of come up against naturally out in the world when they are on their own.
Right.
Which, over the years has kind of changed what that actually means for African Americans. So, it's kind of popular to make your kids, strong individuals. So growing up, I felt like that's just so cruel.
You think it's cruel?
Yeah, that's what I thought when I was younger. I thought, like, why aren't you helping or, why aren't you giving more assistance or, financial assistance, advice, just kind of general help along the way
Yeah.
about what needs to be done.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm a parent of a young adult, and although I still don't totally agree with that approach, I can understand as a parent where that would come from.
Right.
That desire to, like, help them or make them want to kind of figure it out themselves, kind of thing.
Right.
So I guess I'm more in the middle
Mm-hmm.
of, like, yeah, young people do need help. I think that you don't stop parenting at 18.
Definitely not.
Definitely not. And that was like a trend that I kind of saw growing up.
Right.
They know nothing at that point. And it's like when they can bump their heads and still kind of be under your care, and you can kind of give instruction, you can give advice, and over the years you build up that friendship so that they actually even want your advice.
Right.
I think that's your position as a parent.
Right. So that's an interesting take on it. Okay. And as you're sitting there talking about it, I'm thinking where my position is.
Okay.
And my position kind of, it's changed a bit, but not a whole lot.
Okay.
Okay. And here's the reason why. So originally, I kind of felt the same way as you, right? Originally, I kind of felt like
it was cruel.
It was kind of cruel to not help your children and things of that nature. Want to try to give them a leg up and, make sure that they learn to withstand and be resilient and be strong and, bump their head on their own.
Right.
And I do kind of agree with that to a certain extent, right? Here's the part that I don't agree with.
Okay.
And here's why. As the black community, we already kind of start off behind. Right? Coming out into society, we start out behind. So to allow your child to bump their head in certain areas, I feel like is detrimental to their future.
You're just making them even more behind.
You're making them even more behind.
Right.
Which is not really a good thing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So you're already putting them behind quite a bit by not helping them. For instance, allowing your child to bump their head when it comes to finances, especially in the black community.
Yeah.
It really kind of sets them behind quite a bit.
More. Yeah.
Even more, because you get so many children growing up who are financially illiterate.
Right.
And then, they find themselves with bad credit, don't know how to manage their finances and things of that nature. So in that light, I feel like you should probably do as much as you can. You got to lend a hand in that aspect.
You don't, as a black parent, we don't want to make this like a race thing, but you have different responsibilities because you're sending a different type of individual into the world.
Right.
That's just the realness of it.
Right.
So as an African-American parent, I think that is very irresponsible to send your kid out into the world with bad credit. Why would you do that?
Yeah.
That just doesn't make any sense.
And then a lot of times, we don't really get it or grasp onto it, some years later. And it's like, wow, why wouldn't you give me a leg up?
About 10 years.
Yeah, you could have saved me about 10 years of, trouble or financial problems and things of that nature. So I think that you have to, as a parent, pick and choose where you want to lend your help and where you want to let them bump their head.
Right.
And obviously, you kind of got to gauge the type of child that you have.
Yeah, because all kids are different.
All kids are different. But I wouldn't say, you completely leave your child to bump their head in every single thing that they do. It's just not wise. Because then, you kind of set them back. And you, as a parent, every parent mostly wants their child to be successful.
Yeah, that's universal. Definitely.
So you just kind of really want to try to set your child up for success. And me personally, I feel like when it comes to especially financial literacy, you gotta lend a hand.
Because you know nothing when you're young.
You know nothing when you're young.
Yeah. I mean, even like to the point where when our daughter became like of age, start getting the credit card applications in the mail.
I threw them out.
We threw those out as a
Yeah.
family. Like,
I'm like,
that
yo,
was just a new thing. Like, oh, credit card. Yep, we're gonna
Yeah.
throw that in
Throw
the
that out.
trash.
Don't
Yeah.
touch
I mean,
that.
she didn't even have a job yet. It's ridiculous.
yeah.
So,
And some
yeah.
people might say, because there's ways to do it.
Yeah, there's definitely ways to do it, but she
Um,
was way too young to even start thinking about that.
She wasn't ready.
Yeah.
She wasn't. She really didn't display enough discipline financially in order to handle it.
Yeah, definitely.
So when like I said before, you got to know your child.
Yeah. And then I've seen that go the other way as well, because I know some parents that will go ahead and get the credit card, let the kid be irresponsible, and then pay the bill, which is also not a good lesson.
No, that's not a good lesson.
So it's like, yeah, they're going to have good credit, but, you paid their bills the whole time.
Yeah.
And they didn't learn that, well, maybe I can't make this stupid mistake and
I think
still have good credit.
I think in that instance, that's when, as a parent, you become a crutch.
Yeah, definitely.
And you don't allow your child to learn
Yeah.
certain characteristics and certain things.
So you could help too much. That's the thing.
You can definitely help too much. Paying somebody's credit card is not something I'm going to do.
Yeah, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, I'm not doing that.
Because then you have a 40-year-old that's, sitting at home looking at you like, okay.
Pay my credit.
Yeah.
Are
What
you
we
gonna
doing
pay?
about month's
Yeah.
bills? Like,
And I'm going to be like, you speak French all of a sudden?
right. But I mean, that's what you're going to be teaching them. That's what you're going to be doing. If you start out taking care of a young adult and not teaching them responsibility, you'll be taking care of them later.
So I want to play devil's advocate because there may be situations where the kid just doesn't, because I can say, we can sit here and easily say, help your child,
Right.
right? But then there may be situations where the child, you've given them help, right?
Yeah.
And they just kind of blow it every time.
I mean,
How do you do that?
you really think a kid can blow it like every time?
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much.
Blow what though? Like, what do you mean by blow it?
All right, so if you stick your neck out and help your child in some way,
Okay.
I don't even really know an example.
So, like, if you help them buy a car, something like that.
All right, if you help them buy a car,
Okay.
actually, I'll speak for myself. I'm probably gonna help you one time.
Okay.
You, me, and my child. I'm gonna help you one time.
Okay.
If you blow that one help, then the next help, there may not be a help, or it may
Right.
be very, very minimal.
Maybe a
help.
smaller help.
And I think that for me, that's the lesson in it
Yeah.
for them.
That's a good lesson. That's the way the world works.
Yeah, like I'll help you one time.
Right.
For instance, remember we bought the laptops. And we bought the laptops certainly of age to be able to take care of
Care
it.
for them, yes.
And the laptop ended up being broken in a short period of time. That was my one help.
Right.
The next help didn't come.
Right.
And that was the lesson in it for me. That was saying, all right, take care of your stuff,
Right.
especially if it's something that that was given to you.
Yeah.
But the lesson that comes in that is like, if it was your own money,
Right.
you
What would
probably
you do?
yeah, what would you do?
Yeah.
I don't think they get it until it's their own money.
Exactly. So if it's a gift and it was a really good gift that actually helped you out so that you won't have to pay for it, because she could have brought it herself.
Yeah.
But if it was a gift that helped you out, you should be thankful for that. And you
Yeah.
wouldn't want to mess that up.
Yeah.
But,
It's something
lesson learned.
it's something about that I'm noticing. It's something about spending your own money that you
Yeah.
worked for that creates a really large appreciation for the things that you actually get.
Definitely. Now, that's something that I think is not a bad idea in like an old school way of get it yourself.
Right.
Like that lesson definitely needs to be taught. You don't buy your kids everything, because once they purchase stuff for themselves, then they'll start to get an appreciation for things and they'll take better care of them. They can learn to wait, have patience. save and, you know what I mean? Like, go through that whole process of being responsible for their money and, you know, all of that kind of stuff.
Right.
So that part, I definitely agree with that.
Right.
We don't really buy our kids anything.
Right. They have to work for it.
They work for everything, so yeah.
And have to earn it. So, like, what are some other ways? Because I know that I feel like we've mainly been talking about financially.
Right.
What are some other ways that you feel like a parent could really help a child or not help a child, you know, spring off into adulthood and contributing
Right.
to society? Like, what do you think?
I think emotionally.
Learning to deal with, like,
Yeah, deal with stuff on
disappointment?
your own. Yeah, everything. Like,
that's
don't
a
try
good
to
point.
keep them from experiencing life disappointment too much, because then they won't know how to deal with it once they get out there.
That's a great point. I
People
think that,
do that so much.
yeah, I think
Oh
that
my
you shield.
God.
I think a lot of people shield their kids from
Yeah,
disappointment too
they
much.
do.
At a certain age, I feel like
I think it should be at an early age. Like, I think at 2 years old, you should be disappointed that you didn't win something. It
I see
starts
what-
that young.
yeah, I guess you're right. That's true.
I mean, like, you don't have to be like a complete jerk to your 2-year-old, but
Yes, you can.
you can.
Like,
but
yo, you lost.
Right.
Get over it.
You lost. Go get over it.
You scream in their face. You lost. Get over it.
Move on with your life.
Move on with your life.
But yeah, like, age appropriate, you should teach them that, yeah, you don't win at everything.
That's kind of like the what's that? The thing that they kind of debate about, like everybody gets a trophy.
Yeah, like in
The
sports.
everybody wins
Yeah,
thing.
everybody wins.
I think that's a horrible thing.
It's horrible. Everybody gets like a participation
That's what they
certificate.
call it, the participation trophy.
Yeah.
Like, no, you
That's
lost.
not how life is. I'm sorry. I really, like, on a more serious note, I think that is why a lot of like childhood suicide has kind of went up, because nobody knows how to deal with disappointment. They don't know how to deal with life, and it's like they look to their parents for everything, and when things go wrong, they just don't know how to deal with it. So I think you can do that for your kid and really kind of stunt their growth emotionally, just kind of trying to protect them too much, not letting them be independent. I think one thing that I'm really glad I did when our kids were young is that I never told them, like, oh, I know everything. I guess not tell them, but I never acted like I know everything. Like, I'm your mom,
Right.
but I don't have an answer for everything.
Right.
Like, some parents will just make up an answer because they want to appear to be right about everything.
yeah.
A lot of times I had conversations with our, young children, and I said, you know what? I have no idea. Let's go look it up together. I mean, I think that's really important. They shouldn't think that you know everything. They shouldn't think that you're perfect. They shouldn't think that you're a god. It's ridiculous.
You did that?
I did that.
I'm proud of you for doing that.
You didn't know the son did that?
I can't say that I did.
I think it was pretty purposeful on my part.
Just to kind of let them know that,
That I wasn't perfect.
yeah. I think kids need to know that,
They do. They really do.
because we learn just the same as they learn. So yeah, I do. I agree.
Yeah.
Children being shielded from stuff for so long at a young age. So what do you say to, like, a parent who's shielded their child for so long, and now that child is like 18 or 19, maybe 20, and doesn't really know how to deal with disappointments in life? Like, how do they reverse that? Because they're like kind of an adult now.
Right. They should just probably get like either the bail money ready
Wow.
or the rehab money ready.
Wow, that's
Like, that's
like,
an epic
serious?
fail
Like
to
that?
me. Yeah, that's an epic fail as a parent.
That's your advice to those parents?
Yeah, just get the funds ready.
Yo, that's horrible advice. I thought you was gonna say something a little more positive. Yo, that's horrible
But
advice.
I mean, at that point, the
It's
parenting
over?
is over. You
It's
only
not
have-
over.
Like, you have a really small window.
But parenting is not over.
It's
at
not
that point.
over, but like, you can't really go back and fix those types of mistakes. Like if you've done that the whole time and they're like 18, there's going to be some seeds that have been sown over the years that have created this person.
Not get the bail money.
Get
though.
it ready or rehab.
Wow.
Either
Or
one.
rehab.
Yeah,
Wow.
either one. Or
So there's
therapy.
no
It could be
comeback.
therapy
There's
too.
no coming back from
It's
that.
really no coming. Well, I
Wow.
mean, they can recover. They can be healed.
So what does that take?
But like then that's their responsibility. You know
As
what
a
I
young
mean?
adult.
As a young adult. Then that's like their issue. That's their journey that they kind of have to go through to get over your horrible parenting.
Wow.
The only time we have like a huge influence is when they're really little. That's why it's important.
What they call them? The formative years?
Formative years are very important. If you fail during the formative years, that's your window. I'm sorry.
Wow. That was mind blowing just now. I can't believe
You
that.
thought I was going to say something more
Yeah, I
encouraging?
thought you was gonna be more encouraging and positive,
No.
but you just—that's what you feel. That's how you
what
feel.
That's how I feel. I have very, like, I don't think I'm like the most perfect parent on earth, but I have very little patience for bad parenting or people that take parenting very lightly. Like, it's a huge job. And,
Right.
like, the day that our daughter was born, 21 years ago, I was like, oh my God. You
Right.
know what I mean? Like, it's a huge responsibility, and you should be like that
Right.
for each and every individual child. And also, like, every time we had a kid, I was like, oh my gosh, because it's a different person.
Right.
They're on a different journey. You're going to have to parent them differently. So it's a huge responsibility. So I take, that's a very big job to me.
So here's one thing that I'll say about giving your child help when they get to those years, 18, 19, 20, getting ready to move into an adulthood stage.
Yeah.
And this is probably some advice that I could give for new parents, right?
That have like toddlers.
That got toddlers and babies and stuff like that. I think that when it comes to parenting, you definitely have to pay attention to the child, each individual child, and
Right.
how they process information, right? And how they take things when you tell them stuff.
Right.
And based off of that, you have to give them things to process age appropriately,
Right.
right?
And according to their personality.
And according to their personality. So giving them, allowing them to be disappointed in an age appropriate way is
Right.
is important to development. If you can do that over the course of their childhood, I think that when you get to 18, 19, 20-year-old
Right.
children, they're able to deal with things a little bit better, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And then you don't have to worry about if I'm helping too much or if
Yeah.
I'm not helping enough, things of that nature, because you can kind of see where they're at. You've known,
it better.
you can teach it better. Like you were saying before, we can't protect your children from everything. You gotta let them.
And it's hard because you don't want to see your babies hurting or,
You don't.
you want to make it easy for them, but that doesn't necessarily help them
It
at
doesn't
all.
necessarily help. So you have to, I guess, say you have to help them in the right way.
Right.
If you're helping them in the wrong way, it's probably going to backfire on you.
Yeah, definitely.
And like I said, that goes for newer parents,
Yeah.
because the journey is somewhat long,
It's very long.
and at times
And I
it can be
think-
somewhat frustrating.
At a lot of times.
And you know what? Before you go to your point, one thing that I've noticed as our kids have gotten older is that some of the seeds that you plant in them when they were younger, they
Right.
tend to surface
Later.
on. And you were like, I told them that a long time ago. They was
Right.
actually listening
Right,
a little
like,
bit.
Wow, that's cool.
It was like, yo, you listen to that? And you
Yeah.
like, but sometimes you look
Well,
at
that's
them
why it's hard, though, because you could have planted that seed like 20 years ago.
20 years ago.
It might have been something we told her when she was 1.
And you don't even
Yeah.
know if it
I don't even know if it's stuck.
if it's stuck or if it's sunk in
Yeah.
or what.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But when you see it actually surface and they say something that you said, it's like it's like mind blowing. You're like, whoa.
I've like overheard conversations that our kids have with like other people, and they'll give them advice like that we gave them. That's amazing.
That is amazing.
Because like they really like it's become part of what they believe.
Right.
You know, so it's like separate from us.
Right.
And now they believe it and they actually pass it on as advice, you know, to people that they care about.
Right.
The other thing I was going to say is that I think, like, being a young parent, I would give the advice to, like, just make sure that you remember that you're not, like, raising a child. You're raising an adult.
Right.
And I think people kind of get that a little bit backwards because they're just like, oh, this is my baby, this is my child. Like, no, you're raising somebody that's going to eventually be an adult. So at each stage of their life, like, you're pushing them towards adulthood, not towards childhood. So you don't want to get to 18 and you have like an 18-year-old baby. Like, that doesn't make any sense. They should be ready to go out into the world, do adult things.
Right.
And you don't really get to see that too much, unfortunately. There's a lot of little babies.
I think that's very, very important for people to realize when raising children. The point of raising children is actually to turn them into functioning adults.
Right.
And you
that
gotta
can function without you.
that can function without you, and you have to you got to spoon feed them a little bit. And as time goes on and as they get older, you got to start taking away some of the support and crutch that you give them and allow them to use the brain that God gave them. You know, one thing that was really annoying to me is sometimes when our children would ask us to do stuff for them that they can do themselves.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, I'm not doing that for you. You do it yourself.
You can definitely do that.
Yeah,
right?
you can definitely do that. Use your thinking. And I think that shielding children from certain things, it hinders their ability to think critically. Critical thinking is at an all-time low. But the thing about it, though, is
my gosh,
it's at a low in adults, too.
It is, which is really scary.
It's really scary. Like, I find myself telling adults, like...
Did you ever think about this?
Yeah, like can you think for yourself?
Oh my gosh, yeah, that's really sad.
That's
I remember I went through like a drive-through very recently, and there was a young adult at the window, and there was a problem, I think, with like the credit card machine or something, or they couldn't find a coupon that I was using, something weird like that. And so I watched her stand at the window and like be totally frustrated with the fact that she didn't know how to do it. And she just kind of looked at me like, it's not working.
And didn't even like
that was
attempt.
It.
There was nothing beyond that?
She wasn't going to go any further.
Wow.
It was just not working. She wasn't going to problem solve. She wasn't going to do any of that. So I had to tell her, I was like, well, you think maybe your manager knows and you can go ask her? And she really looked at me like, oh,
that's a good idea.
That's a good idea. Let me go do that. Like, what? So, like, that's what we're dealing with. That's what your kid will look like if you handle everything for them all the time.
Well, you know what? Some adults think the same way, dude.
Yeah.
So if you think the same way as an adult, how are you going to tell your kid to critically think?
That's true. You should practice that, too.
Part of the problem that I have with some people on social media, but that's another show.
That's a whole nother show.
Dude, just think for yourself.
Yeah.
If my thinking doesn't line up with popular opinion, that's just my thinking. But one thing is that I think for myself. I have my own line of thoughts that may not line up with yours, but it's okay.
They definitely don't usually line up with mine, but that's okay.
That is okay. It's my thoughts.
It's definitely your thoughts. Yes.
And I critically think on stuff.
As you should.
As I should.
I remember that used to actually be a thing in school.
Critical thinking, right?
Yeah, critical thinking.
If it's gone, they need to bring it back.
Yeah, I feel like it's
immediately. So that's
I just love this topic because I feel like parents like are so important. I mean,
Yeah.
you're raising the people that are going to be in our next generation. Taking parenthood and the responsibility of that is really important. So, like,
Yeah.
do your best.
You know what? One last thing I want to say, and one last point I want to make. If you are a parent that has a child that is very good at critical thinking, don't try to douse that fire in them.
Why would they do that?
I don't know.
People
but
do that?
I wouldn't say people do that, but I would say that as a parent, there's a fine line between parenting and then allowing your child to actually express themselves.
Oh, yeah. Like, think for themselves. Share
And
their
think for
opinions.
themselves.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of kids may not share their opinions or express
They're
themselves
probably scared.
out of the fear
Yeah.
of your parents' response.
That's true. That's very true.
So I think that as parents, you kind of have to be able to set a respectful boundary
Right.
with your children as to how
Yeah.
they can express themselves and say how they feel, because they have at a certain age, they begin to develop thoughts of their own.
Definitely.
Right. And as parents, you kind of want to hear those thoughts. You know what I'm saying?
And
like,
you can't be offended if they're different than yours.
can't be offended if they're
Like,
different than yours.
We have a kid that definitely probably feels that she could parent way better than us half of the time. But hey, that's her opinion.
Right.
She'll soon find out. But, you know, we want her to share what her opinion is.
Right. And then also, too, you don't want to discourage them from sharing their thoughts because their thoughts may be way off.
Right.
And as a parent, that gives you the opportunity to
you
like,
can like reel them back
yeah,
in.
let me reel you back in. Let me explain
Yeah.
to you
Right.
what happens
true.
or the consequence or what my experiences were when dealing with that. So you definitely want to allow them to express themselves and communicate in that way. So
Definitely. And not be afraid to.
yeah, they gotta not be afraid to share some things with you.
That's why we talk all the time.
Yeah. So ultimately, there's really no yes or no answer for the question of the show today. Do you help
Great.
your kids or not?
We don't know.
I think that the answer is
We
yes
didn't give
and
you-
no.
Yeah.
It's yes
Help
and
them in
no.
the right way.
Help them in the
That's
right way.
answer.
Yeah, there you go. That's the answer. Help them in the right way. You don't want to be a crutch, but then you don't want to leave them hanging out to dry. Every circumstance and every child and parent and situation is different. The main thing I would say is to pay attention.
Definitely.
Pay attention to your kids. Pay attention to how they grow and develop. And don't worry about them. They'll be all right.
They definitely will.
Yeah.
We were, so.
Yeah, we
They'll
was all
definitely
right.
be all right.
They'd be all right, especially if you gave them a solid, decent foundation. They'd be all right.
That's your job.
That's
Still
your job.
good.
Anything else you want to add?
I think that's it.
That's pretty much it.
Hopefully we helped with our
Yeah,
with our answer.
Yeah, it's kind of based on. Well, I wouldn't say kind of. It's based off experience.
Definitely.
Definitely based off experience. So.
Definitely. And it seems like such a far, way down the road when your kids are really little, but you got to start thinking about it right now.
Definitely. So this is the Buffy and Lamar Show. We are glad to be back
Yeah.
chatting with you guys.
Maybe we'll have some guests in the studio soon.
Yeah. Soon as
With
people,
their mask, maybe? I don't know.
I guess.
This is not 6 feet.
It's definitely not 6 feet. I'm not sure how that'll work out when it comes to like the mic and all of that stuff. You can talk through a mic. So I don't know.
Well, we'll see.
I'm not sure when we'll get somebody back in the studio.
But we're here.
But we're here. Thank you guys for, I was about to say loosening.
Oh, well, okay.
Thank you all for listening. This is the Buffy and Lamar Show. We are still on social media, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter.
I'm on TikTok.
Buffy's on TikTok.
Yes.
I'm just the extra name in the title. At the Buffy and Lamar Show, at Buffy and Lamar on Instagram. You can listen. Where you can listen? Stitcher, Spotify, Apple. That week off messed me up.
Yeah, it did.
TuneIn Radio. Everywhere. Oh my alarm going on. TuneIn Radio. And
Wherever else you want to listen.
And then watch, subscribe to our YouTube page, The Buffy and Lamar Show. And subscribe. You can go back and check the old episodes. There's a bunch of them up there.
Yeah.
And we look forward to hearing from you guys, or talking to you guys, I should say, in the weeks to come. Anything else, Buffy?
That's it.
BuffyandLamar.com. Thank you guys for listening. This is the Buffy and Lamar Show. We'll catch y'all next time. Peace.
Peace.